Welcome to the JBoy Show, hosted by Jake Crain, the fastest growing sports show in the nation.
I'm Coach Hugh Freeze.
This is Super Bowl champion Brandon Graham.
Hey, this is DJ Shockley, and you're watching.
And thanks for watching the JBoy Show.
All right, hello everybody. Thanks again for joining us on another edition of the JBoy Show. Very excited to be bringing in another guest that's going to be able to take you behind the face mask, help you guys win the water cooler, as we say. Mr. Brandon Boykin, former UGA DB. You can catch him on SEC Network, IMG College Radio. Dude does a little bit of everything. But first, we got to give a shout out to betonline.ag. Head over there today. College football, it's coming fast. I told you guys, take Georgia money line. Just do it now. Just trust me. Just as Arnold Schwarzenegger would say, just do it now. But they got anything over there. Major League Baseball, Olympics. If there's a Quidditch game going on at Hogwarts, they're going to have a spread on it. They play the Sharps early. Go to betonline.ag. And if you go there now, whether you sign up mobile, laptop, desktop, whatever, string in a cup, you get a 50% welcome sign-up bonus, but that's a limited time. So head over to betonline.ag and tell them that JBoy sent you. But Brandon, man, what's up? How's it going?
What's up, brother? I'm good.
Definitely.
I'm good. I'm actually a little bit mad because I'm actually here on set and I don't see any Georgia stuff.
Listen, I'll say it again. I'll look right in the camera and say, Kirby, be smart. Send us a helmet. I don't get it. We have recruits on here all the time. We got a Georgia Coach Collins hooked us up not only with a Georgia Tech helmet but gear. Played in the golf tournament with Buster Faulkner the other day. I've gotten a lot of promises.
I'm gonna bring y'all a helmet.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Brandon Boykin. And I got Georgia winning the whole thing.
Me too. How can you not?
I don't know what else to do. I'm just maybe just have to drive over to Athens, just stand outside with a sign. But no, I'd appreciate some help.
If this ain't the year, it might never be the year.
Let's start there. You know what? Let's start right there, Brandon. I look at this roster. Yeah. You know, a lot of people, and as a former DB, I think you would agree. If you looked going through spring, didn't have a ton of DB depth. Kirby talked about it. Lost 2 to the draft, 2 to the portal. Yeah. We all know how that's going. But you add Darian Kendrick from Clemson in a stroke of irony. And Tyke Smith, the guy that looks like he's going to play nickel star, whatever you want to call it, that had a chance to be a Sunday guy. Yeah. Look at the roster now, and I don't know if it gets any better.
Yeah, we lost. I say we, but Georgia. I have to be correct when I'm not sweating blood there.
You sweating blood there. Yeah.
But losing the entire secondary, right? You had guys like Richard LeCount that have been there. He played star. He played safety. He could play corner. So the versatility, and a lot of those guys you're losing. But recruiting, they've done a great job of that. But you can't replace experience. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see game one how those guys are. But they're gonna progress throughout the year. So
yeah.
What I do know is that Georgia's gonna be able to score. Right? It's hard to get that continuity on offense. That normally progresses throughout the year, but we've got a quarterback and we've got receivers coming back, so I'm excited about that part.
Definitely, and obviously Pickens going down with the injury was tough. Gonna see if he's gonna get back. You add Reed Gilbert, big time guy who's gonna be eligible. Who I think they're just gonna flex out. I don't think you're gonna see him, hitting on split zone or cross blocking or anything like that. But when you look at it philosophically, and we know Todd Monken's able to do multiple things. Tight end passing game. I think Darnell Washington does not get talked about enough. He's basically a monster. But when you look at philosophically how you think Georgia's going to be this year, I think there's a good chance they could be passed to run a lot more than they've been in the past and almost dictate the run off of the passing game. What do you think about that?
I agree. I think that they have to start there, right? Number one, with the quarterback that they got. I think he's got the best arm in the SEC. But then you got guys like James Cook and Zamir White. These running backs are guys that can catch the ball out of the backfield. And so when teams kind of expect you to run the ball maybe first, second down, we saw how that happened in the past. You got to let it loose, man. Let these guys do what they're supposed to do. And then you talked about Eric Gilbert. I think he's going to be kind of like Kyle Pitts was for Florida last year, a guy that you can flex out. A guy that is going to cause nightmares for shorter guys like maybe myself in that nickel position and then in the slot. So they got to utilize all these playmakers, man, and do it from the start.
For sure. And again, we know Blaylock, Kyrus Jackson. You go down the list, they do have a lot of weapons. And but when you look at game one, and we'll get off Georgia after this question, but I will keep saying this, and I'm going to dedicate a monologue to this on the show. To me, it's the greatest insurance policy you could ever have in game one. Some people are like, oh, no, I don't want to play a team like that. But you win that game, you have really put yourself in a position where, not that you want to lose a game or you ever take anybody lightly, but if you were to drop one, or maybe you were to drop the SEC championship game to a Bama or something like that, you're still in the playoff, especially with it still being a 4 team and not 12 yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a great – as a player, I never really liked. Well, you need a warm up game, like playing a Coastal Carolina or somebody week 1, but you need to know where you're at, right?
Yeah.
In order to get into that SEC play, because normally you play like a Coastal Carolina, then bam, it's South Carolina, game 2, and it's like, okay, this is a little bit different. So you're gonna get tested quick, but schedule's favorable for Georgia this year. That's why I keep saying, like, if it's not this year, I mean, when is it gonna be? You know what I'm saying? Because you got everything you need, and the schedule is looking pretty good for you. Yeah,
and it still just blows my mind that Georgia hasn't won one since 1980 with all the talent, and that's again, and I've been a firm believer of, Kirby's done a hell of a job, in my opinion, to this point, recruiting and doing all that, but you got to pay it off. You got to pay it off, and Georgia fans are ready. But when you look at the rest of the East, I've got Kentucky finishing second. I look at Florida's schedule. I think it's brutal. They have to, replace a guy you brought up, Kyle Pitts, Kadarius Toney, Kyle Trask, go down the list. Yeah. When you look at the rest of the East, are there a couple teams you think are going to surprise some people? Kind of how do you see it shaking out?
I was going to say Kentucky as well. I think Kentucky is strong for sure. They lost a lot of guys on defense as well, but I think for the most part, if they can get that quarterback situation right.
Yeah. Well, everybody, it blows my mind because we hear, all right, Max Johnson and Miles Brennan. Now that's kind of a moot point. Miles Brennan, goes down, and then they're like, oh, Haynes King and Zach Calzada. Let's talk about that. And they're like, oh, let's go talk even about Paul Tyson, Alabama backing up Bryce Young, and T.J. Finley and Bo Nix. Nobody's talking about Will Levis, the Penn State transfer at Kentucky, or really Liam Cohen, then bringing in a guy that's very well respected in the coaching ranks. And Brandon, they are going to throw a forward pass in Lexington this year, and I cannot believe it.
Look, well, the East, they might finish second, right? I've got Georgia to win the East. Mm-hmm. What we're not talking about is the West. I know you don't want to talk about the West.
Yep, we're gonna get them. I'm trying to really juice it up because I look at the West, Brandon, right now. And I've said it, and I'll say it again. And I'm not saying that Alabama's going to be as elite as they were last year. It's almost going to be impossible to replicate what they did on offense.
Yeah.
But I think the West is as deep as I've seen it from top to bottom. I mean, you're not walking into Oxford and laughing your way through one. You're not walking down to Fayetteville and chunking the deuce and walking out of there. I mean, it's legitimately going to be a fist fight every week.
I'm going to give you a real hot take right now.
Oh, gosh. Burn it up.
I think Ole Miss is going to win the West.
I want you to look in the mic. I want you to look at that camera right there, Brandon. I want you to say it. No, excuse me.
Where am I? Where am I? Camera. Okay, right here. I think Ole Miss is going to be ready to play this year, and I think they're going to win the West.
Wow.
Because they got a dude out there named Matt Corral.
Yeah, the Golden Corral.
Yes, sir.
Sponsorship.
And I'm on the Matt Corral bandwagon, and I've been for a while, but I think this is going to be his year. They got to get some defense, though. But they're going to score. They're going to score.
Well, I mean, their defense can't be any worse than they were last year.
That's what I'm saying, right?
I mean, you get a couple stops and some turnovers. So what? Brandon Boykin, listen, I respect it. It's a hot take. And look, if it hits, again, you're the only guy I've heard say that outside of all my buddies that are Ole Miss fans. Yeah. Like, you're the only guy I've heard say that.
I got no ties. I got no ties.
No, I know.
I'm just telling y'all the truth.
And we had Matt Corral on the show at Media Days, and he does have that swag, that kind of Lane Kiffin drippage, I guess you could say. And when you look and you look at the triangle of head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback, I don't know if you're going to find a better one than Lane Kiffin, Jeff Lebby, and Matt Corral. Braylon Sanders, I think, has a chance to be an all-SEC guy. I know they lost Aboa. I know they lost Elijah Moore, but you return Jerry and Ely. And look, Lane's going to score. They're going to find ways to score points. So let me ask you this. So you got Ole Miss winning the West. Where do you have Bama finishing?
Second.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Second. I think they're gonna reload. They always reload, but like I said, you can't replace experience, dude. You can't replace that unless Bryce Young comes in and does what he's supposed to do from week one. I think there's gonna be a transitional period, even though they're Alabama. Ole Miss has the continuity. They got what they need on offense, so when they play. Yeah, I think they'll be ready to play.
Look, I love it. I love it. I cannot wait to see social media after this one drops. This is going to be great. But so look at Brian Harsin at Auburn. We're here at Brandon Boykin as we're kind of getting to the second half, I guess, per se, of the interview. But a lot of new coaches in the league. You look at Brian Harsin. You look at Shane Beamer. You look at Josh Heupel. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, best of luck, my friend.
Yeah.
But what do you think Auburn year one under Brian Harsin looks like? It's going to be a tough schedule with Bo Nix. Your thoughts on both of them?
I thought Bo Nix had an up and down year last year, but what they need to rely on is that running game.
Yeah, Tank
Bigsby he's the guy. Like I think he can rival for best running back in the SEC already. So you got to play with what you got, and what they have right now is a strong running game. And Bo Nix is going to. He's just got to try not to do too much. I'd say. Yeah. There's times last year where I felt like he was just trying to do too much, trying to be Mike Vick out there, and he just needs to calm down. But I think he'll get there, and the process is going to be the process. Like when I keep saying that, everybody thinks that like because you're Georgia or because you're Alabama that it just starts off week one and you're dominant. Like no, you get better throughout the year.
That's true,
and players get more comfortable in the scheme throughout the year. But so a team maybe week 4 will look completely different from week 10. So that's why I'm saying I think they'll be fine. But it might not look great early on.
Yeah, that's why I always tell people that are betting on the games, don't use the transitive property. Like teams change as the year goes, especially teams that have depth and teams that don't have depth.
And
that's
especially
a big deal.
Like after that bye week, because for college dudes, like we're going to class. And then after class, you're going to practice. So there's not really that much time to like study the play. If I'm being honest, a lot of dudes out there winging it. Like they don't know what's going on.
Well, I always laugh because it's like right when the season gets done. I used to have guys I'd coach that, we get through the whole season, good or bad, whatever. And then starting off install next, they're like, coach, can you go over this again? Exactly. I'm like, wait a minute. We just did this all last year. It's like, listen, I was listening to what you're saying and doing what you're doing. Exactly. I didn't retain that much of it. But, it's funny because looking at the difference in Malzahn's system and Harson's system from a pass progression standpoint, now I think you're going to get to see Bo Nix, if they can protect him, stay in the pocket, be able to go not only through one progression and say, there's nobody there, so he can go bang, bang, and just throw the check down. Yeah. I don't understand, and nobody can explain it to me. Just throw the check down. I watched Peyton Manning and Tom Brady check down people to death, and I think that's an adjustment.
Yeah. That was the problem with Bo Nix last year. There were times where he didn't have to be outside of the pocket, and he'd be running outside of the pocket, and everything breaks down then, right? Like as a corner, you love it when quarterbacks run outside the pocket because there's a 1 maybe 3 second window for them to get that route off, and then when everything breaks down, it's easy to cover him. And he made it easy on guys last year by doing that. So I think that's the next progression for him. Like you said, use the check down. He's got guys like Tank that can catch the ball out of the backfield and take it for 15 or 20.
That's exactly right. And you got to get the ball to playmakers in space. And but Brandon, a couple more questions. I'm gonna let you out of here. Looking at the rest of the West, I know Ole Miss where they're at. Do you see, and Arkansas's got a brutal schedule. I mean, it's brutal what they've got to go through, especially that 4-game stretch there in the middle. When you look at teams like Arkansas and Mississippi State, do you have one of those guys finishing over each other? Is there one? Do you think Mike Leach in his second year, finds his wand and uses some of that magic?
I don't. I was super excited about Mississippi State early on last year, obviously.
Yeah. Well, else you wouldn't get out of man, Brandon.
Right? When people figured out how to play them, right? Yeah. And then it went downhill. And I think unless something drastically changes, I think they'll kind of finish how they were last year.
Well, I always say, you can have coaches that are average play callers, but if you have better personnel, you're going to win. Yep. You can have coaches that are amazing play callers, and if you don't have the personnel, you're going to lose.
Well, what do you even think about the quarterback situation at Mississippi State? Because they went through about 3 or 4 guys last year.
I actually coached against the Abraham kid when he was at Northwest Mississippi JUCO. Yeah. It was at Jones County. But I watched Will Rogers last year.
He thought he was going to win the Heisman after a couple games.
This kid, I was like, all right, he gets the system. He looked good against Georgia. The ball spins out of his hand. He's tough as shit, in my opinion. And I think that's the first time I've ever said that word on here. That's all right. Leave it in, Cone. Let it ride. But when I look at him, I would just be very surprised if he didn't win the job or at least is not the guy going forward, because it seems like, and I know they had – more opt-outs than just about anybody, but it seems like the locker room was behind him too.
Yeah. He's probably the most consistent guy.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were looking for last year.
That's all Mike Leach wants.
Consistency.
It's consistency.
And so they're another team that doesn't have great defense, but
no. Well, I always laugh. Like, I just don't think you can smoke draw your way to an SEC championship. Like, it's when Dana Holgerson was the assistant coach, he begged him like, Coach, we got to run the ball a little bit more. And to Mike Leach's credit, and he came on this show and said he invented the term air-raid at Iowa Wesleyan, and I believe him. But no, I feel like you got to adjust that system in this league. Like I said it about Texas and Oklahoma coming over here. Like this isn't a walk in the park. No. Like this isn't one bowl game where 8 guys opt out and you win 42-38. And it's like, oh, Oklahoma can compete in the SEC. You got to go through the 9 levels of Pan's Labyrinth to even get a chance.
Yeah.
So
any given Saturday.
Any given Saturday, especially now.
You can straight up lose to Mississippi State or Vanderbilt. Like if you don't.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. My last question, and this one's a juicy one for me because there's been this, because LSU and Texas A&M have played some really good games as of late. I mean, that one game that went like 300 overtimes, I think that was one of the reasons they changed the overtime rule that game, if you go back and look at it. But between those two teams, LSU last year, they've got a lot of stuff going on outside, but sometimes I can bring a team together. Yeah. When you look at the trajectory of LSU and Texas A&M, who would you choose right now for the next 3 to 5 years to have the most success?
Texas A&M, no question. I agree. No question. I like how they're trending as far as recruiting, number one. Yeah. They're getting
guys on defense.
Yeah, they're getting recruits. They're getting a lot of recruits, and I think that's part of Texas trying to get in the SEC. Like Texas A&M had the SEC logo behind. Like guys are going to go to Texas A&M.
That's exactly right. I think that's one of the reasons why Texas is like, well, we need to get that logo too. Even though I've talked to Cole Kubelik about it earlier. Texas already has a huge recruiting advantage. But I know I told you that was that last question, but one more just popped in my head. What's harder? Figuring out how to colonize Mars or Vanderbilt winning the East?
Oh, man. Vanderbilt winning the East.
100%. That's like James Franklin may have done the greatest coaching job in the history of the world, Brandon.
Yeah.
In the history of the world. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I wanted your thoughts.
Elon Musk got the colonizing on lock.
Anyway. That's what I'm saying. We can land a rocket backwards on a ramp on water, but Vanderbilt is not.
Another hot take. I'm looking into this camera
right there. Look deep into the camera.
Elon Musk will colonize Mars before Vanderbilt wins. Before Vanderbilt wins SEC again.
I love it. Brandon is on fire, ladies and gentlemen. But no, man, we got to do this again, dog. I appreciate you coming in. We'll chop it up too during the season. I know you got some big things popping. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media and what you got going. You're a man of many talents. And many abilities.
Yeah, man. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Boykin 2, the number 2. I was Deuce at Georgia, so Brandon Boykin 2. Instagram, I'm just Brandon Boykin. We do a show on SEC Network called Thinking Out Loud. That should be coming back this fall in September. And then radio, UGA Radio, Bulldog All Stars. So I'm repping for Georgia. Since you aren't, I will make sure I do all my part.
Brandon, I am first off really excited and a little bit emotional about that. So thank you. But no, I appreciate you joining us, buddy. This is a great time.
Absolutely.
We'll do this
again, for sure.
We appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you go to JBoyShow.com, subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you can listen to podcasts, or watch us on YouTube. Cone works really hard to make the production great, and he does a really good job. So make sure you check us out and get some of that merch at the JBoyShow.com. I promise you the hoodies are coming back in stock. They're selling like hotcakes, and I appreciate that, but they're going to be back, so make sure you check it out. Make sure you keep checking us out every single day, especially during the season. Going to keep taking you through fall camp. For Brandon Boykin, it's Jake Crain from the JBoy Show, and we're gone.
The JBoy Show is produced by David Cohn, Technical Director Dave Hammock, Creative Director David Culbertson, Audio Engineer Feyzan Shareef, Production Assistants Blain, Crain, and Kyle Orr, Executive Producers Jake Crain, Vince Thompson, Steve Chamberlain, and David Cohn. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, thejboyshow.com, for updates regarding our newest apparel and merch designs. Win the water cooler with the JBoy Show.